Welcome. Welcome, everyone. I'm Wake, your host for Shaman to Shaman, where we bring you interviews, shaman to shaman, healer to healer, teacher to teacher, with shamanic earth-based healers and teachers from around the world. Today, we've invited Fotoula Adrimi to share her stories of a spiritual life and to tell us about her shamanic journey, the way she experiences the world, her practice, and how we can connect with her. Fotoula Adrimi is born of Grecian descent. She was a born healer. She was first recognized by her great aunt, and so began a rich journey that we'll hear about today. Currently, Fotoula lives in Glasgow, Scotland. She is director of the ISIS School of Holistic Health, an international school of earth-based shamanic training. Her first best-selling book is The Golden Book of Wisdom, Ancient Spirituality and Shamanism for Modern Times, an Amazon UK bestseller that teaches how to live life from a shamanic perspective. Her second book, Sacred Mysticism of Ancient Egypt, is soon to be released. We're honored to have you with us today, Fotoula. Welcome to Shaman to Shaman.
Thank you very much for this beautiful invite, Wake, and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for your community and all you're trying to do to bring people who work both with the heart and with experience, because we can have the heart, of course, we want to help people, we feel the calling, but we also need that experience, that really deep teaching, because we are dealing with a world that we don't know much about in our Western mind, in our Western life. And even in the indigenous places, in the communities, so much is being lost right now. So I'm so grateful to be here and all you're trying to do, because I feel this is in some way collecting and then preserving and bringing to us so we can practice it in our own way, that knowledge, that wisdom that is all around the earth. And there are so many wonderful ways to work, and in so many different places, we all have different traditions, but I feel that we also have a common heritage inside us as humanity. And it's lovely to see all the ways that you work and you bring everything together. I feel in some ways shamanism is like, there are all these different earth-based, as you said, traditions, like the different colors of the rainbow, but we can weave them together in this beautiful tapestry.
Thank you so much, Fotoula. I'm going to tell the audience a little bit more about you, and then we'll continue with our discussion. And I am really looking forward to what else you have to offer today. As a young child, you received family and ancestral indigenous ceremonies from your Grecian lineage. As you told me earlier, magic runs in the family, and I believe that. As time progressed, you sought your own path, including graduating from the Sorbonne and becoming a town planner. Nearly 30 years ago, you rediscovered your passion of shamanism, and I hope you'll tell us about that. You studied core shamanism, completed your teacher training with Sandra Ingerman, and you've been mentoring shamanic practitioners ever since. You've received many teachings, transmissions, and ceremonies from both Western and indigenous shamans. And for 10 years, you've been studying Himalayan shamanism with Bola Bansola, and now co-organizes his workshops in Scotland. You have a dynamic practice and dynamic life. You offer sessions, mentorships, teachings, you write, travel, contribute to the medicine in all your various ways. We're so honored to have you here today to tell us your stories. Our goal, of course, is to introduce members to one another, to let them tell you about themselves so that you may be encouraged to reach out and connect and see what transpires. And overall, that we integrate wisdom, energy, and healing sessions into our own lives That's our vision at Shamans Directory. Of course, Shaman to Shaman is brought to you by Shamans Directory, a dynamic online resource for earth-based shamans to share themselves, offer medicine, build community, and change the world. To learn more, you can visit online at shamansdirectory.com, on YouTube and Instagram. Okay, Fotoula, here we are. I'm truly honored to have you introduce yourself to the Shamans Directory community. How would you like to continue?
Oh, so what I could share is a little bit about, the tradition from my family and how it came to me. Because this is a story that is not really told, because in Greek shamanism, what we have is a very old tradition, and people lived on the land. So that meant that people lived in awareness of spirit, very much so. And what happened now after the 1970s, 1960s, 1970s, is we went into the mind and into the Western way of living. We said, right, this tradition is for peasants, for the illiterate people. So we now are Europeans, we are now civilized. So we start to forget of our roots, and our roots are very important. Our roots are who we are, and that is our power. So connecting with our ancestral wisdom, that is so old, and I found it also in other places, very similar examples of that ancestral wisdom, which I have seen in my own culture. Is what you have is that the strength that comes. My surname Adrimi comes from the word dris, and dris is the oak tree, is the ancient Greek word for oak tree. And what it means is to have that strength of the oak tree that comes through these deep roots and this spiritual connection. So I'll tell you, an example is one of the ceremonies that my father still does is, and he inherited from his great grandfather, is the reading of the bones. So this time of the year when we're coming towards the Greek Easter, is then we have a time of celebration, and we eat a lamb on a spit that is prepared. A lot of people do that, but my father, what he does is he does this very much ceremoniously. There is a ritual where you are putting together a little fire from 4 types of wood. It has to be a very aromatic fire that is very pleasing to the spirits. So the woods that are being used, the type of wood are woods with have essential oils like the lemon tree, etc. So it's like really pleasing to the spirits. And then you take a part of the belly of the lamb, and you do the prayers there with that like the fat that is there. It's a very fatty part, so it can make a big smoke. That's the idea, that you have the smoke. And you do the prayers for the well-being of each member of the family, each member is going to come and eat from that lamb. And then you also for your job and for your community and for the country and for everybody. And then you put that on the fire, and the smoke starts to rise. And then you notice the smoke, and you notice what it tells you, because it's like lifting the veil. And then you are recognizing that, oh, this smoke is telling me that there are blockages. This smoke is telling me things are not good. Then you have to do other rituals to try and change that. Or the smoke is just completely gone up, straight up into the heart of creation. That's going to be a really good year. I don't need to do anything. everything is taken care of. So that kind of ritual with the smoke and the fire, I know it's very common in different traditions. We do it that way, but again, you will find, I have found it in other traditions, of creating a talisman, putting that on the fire, putting cedar or juniper in the fire. When I went to Tibet, this offering was the juniper plant, and where the smoke came and went with our prayers was significant too. And in my tradition also, just to give you an example, then after we eat the lamb, my dad reads the bones, and he can tell you the main things that are going to happen in the year for the people who have eaten the lamb. Is there going to be a change of jobs? Is there going to be a marriage, a new child coming? Is there going to be enemies attacking you in some way? So is there going to be a drought? So different things. And he's very, very accurate. He's so accurate because it's not just reading the signs. It's like what he says is like, it's like you see the bone is the shoulder blade bone of the lamb, both bones. One needs to be the same as the other, so they correspond. And what he does is that he says that it's like reading a piece of paper, because it's the transfer of the knowledge and the transfer of the gift. So in my tradition, what happens is that it's not just about reading a book saying this is how it's done, or connecting with the spirits yourself. It's important to have that link. And in my tradition, it comes through the family, from one member of the family to another. And then that link is the power, more than the knowledge. The knowledge is there, but also the power that helps you then be the vessel, the clear vessel for the spirit to talk through you.
You mentioned that shamanism is in your heart and your bones. And I believe that. You grew up in a family with traditional practices, and so you learned them from an early age. Of course, you needed to leave, and you achieved a high level of education, became a planner. I'm not sure if you would like to tell us about that. What I'm really interested in is your reawakening, or your drawing back to the traditions. Would you tell us about that, and anything you care to say about your education and how you first set out into the world?
So it's really interesting because my family, my father, as I said, was basically taught this art at very young age as a child from his great grandfather, and his part of the lineage is patriarchal. And it was the way it works is that once you teach the young one, once that education finishes, then the older person who has been the teacher then retires. Then he should not do it or cannot do it. That is the way. And my father was, when he was going through his education, his grandfather was already quite old. He was quite old. So he said he had a few years and his mind was very scientific. So my dad is an engineer and his mind was very logical. But then he says that these ways, these old ways, these old Greek ways, he doesn't know the other ones. That's the only ones he knows and has in his heart. They work. So despite being very logical, he has that. And the other thing that happens in this tradition is everything is done very respectfully and very much in secret. So even though I was aware my dad was reading the bones for us, there were a few things that he was, I could see, but he could not reveal even to his children, to even to his family. This is very part of his work. He revealed to me much later on. He showed to me what this is. So what happened was I had this calling from a young child. I was really touched by what I was seeing. I wanted to learn, but it wasn't accessible because It's like he was doing his thing and I couldn't do it. And so what I found out within myself was the ancient texts. I always loved ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, and I would read, the philosophers. I would read Herodotus. I would read Plato, and I was really lost in there, trying to find, especially the parts that they talk about channeling. There's accounts in ancient Greek texts about people contacting their spirit guide, who he's called demon, but that means spirit in ancient Greek. It doesn't mean the demon we call now. It means like the spirit, his spirit guide. So I was reading all of these accounts. There was not much else I could find. And then I also had a lot of experiences with spirit helpers because I was clairvoyant as a child. And then, of course, what happened was as I became a teenager and I concentrated on my school years and trying to get to university and everything, all that was switched off. And was switched off because I could not understand what was happening at some point. And I felt that my journey was one where as a child, you're so open. And so, you trust all your spirit guides. There are no barriers. There are no barriers. It's so natural. For me, it was so natural. And I would pray to my helping spirits and I would say, could you tell me what to do to win the raffle at school? Could you tell me what? And these are the requests for a child, from a child. I didn't ask for the lottery numbers, unfortunately. I don't think I would get it. But it was just like the simple request of a child. I pray for sunshine so we can go out and play. But what happened was when I was becoming a teenager, I felt somehow so guilty that I could do all this and win the raffles at school, and the other kids did not have what I had. So I felt that separation, and that guilt and separation created a shadow that almost like closed these centers. And also in my community, in Greece at the time, there is a lot of fear for this kind of thing, and that's why probably it's kept so secret. There is a fear that if you meddle in this kind of things, then you are inviting difficulties in your life that you may not be able to deal with unless you are experienced. So I went to the Sorbonne and then I moved to Scotland. I moved to Scotland due to love. I met my ex-husband in Paris. And we were very young. We were very young, and we believed that because we met in Paris, we were meant to be together for life. But his job, I think, was to bring me to Scotland, which I had no intention of ever going. But I came to Scotland, I came to Glasgow. I loved the people here. I created new roots here. There is a saying we have in Greece that says, wherever there is land, there is a homeland. And I felt the second home here. And then when I became 30, somehow all of a sudden, things started to open up. And a book fell on my hand that was about mediumship. I had no idea what that book was about. I thought it was about memory exercises. I took all these books from the library on memory exercises, and it was in there. And I opened this book and I just knew everything there was true. And the whole path started to open up. And then I discovered shamanism, again by accident, as they say. I discovered, and I thought that's what we do. That's what we do back home. So I studied core shamanism for many years. And after doing about 7 years on core shamanism with different teachers, including Sandra Ingerman, then it was really interesting because I started also working with a Native American teacher who was amazing. He's passed now, very, very wonderful person, very, very powerful. a shaman, and he didn't call himself a shaman. He called himself a good cleaner, because he would clean you from, and it was tough. This work is tough. One time he told me in a dream, he said, I'm going to clean you, but it might feel like sandpaper on your skin, because when you meet all the stuff that you carry, you go through this catharsis. It's not always an easy process. So I went through that process, and then in a vision quest that I went to do in the Inyo Mountains, I was sitting under the tree there, and it was a juniper tree. And after a few days, 2 days fasting, then this bird came and did 3 circles right in front of my eyes, not high up, just within a foot away from me. And then I heard the words from Shiva that said, I remember I gave you a rattle. And I said, what do I need to do, Shiva? And Shiva said, you need to go to Tibet. And I had tried to go to Tibet a few years ago, 3 years ago, but I couldn't get a visa. It was so hard to get a visa to go there. And I said, how do I get there? And he said, find Bola, the Nepalese shaman. And then it was a process of finding Bola. So I found Bola and I went to Tibet. I went to Tibet, I went to Nepal. I have been to Nepal now a few times, and it's been wonderful to work there with shamans, to just sit and receive and learn so much from them. And Bola is a great bridge between the West and the East. So I was working with him, and again, sharing my tradition with him. And he says, yes, it's the same. And one of the things that that we have very, very similar in his tradition and my tradition was the role of women in the past. You know, that of course in Nepal there are a lot of female shamans, but there's a lot of the time the women just hold the space instead of being the shaman. And in my tradition, my father's side, it was the same. Like the women would hold the space, but they wouldn't necessarily do the work unless there was some women who were very powerful mediums. And they said the most powerful mediums were the women. They had to be old women, that they had to be, you know, past the menopause time to really be sort of accepted there, past the childbearing age. But that was a tradition, and the tradition was very patriarchal, because when I went back to my father after all these years and years of studying with different people, and I went back to him and I said, could you teach me? And he said, no, because you are, my grandfather said that is for women, if you do this work, it's unlucky. I don't know for whom it's unlucky, but I don't think it's for the woman who comes into her power and connection with her spirit guides. But anyway, even my mother, who was frightened of this kind of work, she said to him, she is doing it anyway, so you might as well teach her. And there had been an event in my family that changed the course. It was a difficult event. It was an illness in the family that basically showed, if this is not shared, and I don't have any brothers, so there was no male to go to. If this is not shared, then it's going to get lost, as we've lost so many things. We've lost so many teachings. So that's when I started working with my dad and receiving the gems of wisdom that he still remembered. Some of the things, a lot of the things, especially the herbal preparations, these we have lost. We don't know how they were done because there was nothing written. It's an oral tradition. And it was very much a secret tradition as well. So that's what happened. So many things were lost. but I have tried to retrieve from the elders the old stories, to retrieve how they did things, and to understand their way of life, and the stories of how they used magic. We call it magic. We don't have this word shamanism, so we call it magic. And it's like, how do we use that magic in different situations? And all the stories, when even the birth of my granny, it was done through a magical ritual, because all the children were being born dead, or there were so many difficulties, and nine children before her were born dead. So what happened, they had to use shamanism, a magical ritual, to bring her to the world. And there are so many stories like that I managed to just retrieve.
I really appreciate, Fotoula, you letting us know about your upbringing and your journey, how you got to where you are. I know that you've told me that the core shamanism for you helped to make your work or the presentations of your medicine safe and accessible for people. And I know you've integrated that into your practice. What a rich heritage you have, and the integration of the more general shamanic principles with your very intimate experience of the family lineage and the magical practices. Uh, could you start to talk a little bit about what you're offering now for people who would come to you, either in an individual session or your programs, which I hope you'll talk about as well?
Yes, sure. So basically, in an individual session, what my spirit helpers, they are saying that people usually carry a lot of energies that do not belong to them. So they always start with extraction work. They really try to take away all these energies that cloud our connection and cloud our mind. And you can feel that when sometimes we go somewhere and we don't feel ourselves, we just become irritable, we're not ourselves, we find everything is a problem, and there is so much depression here in this place, where I see sometimes people and there is no light in their eyes. And that's from every walk of life. It doesn't matter, whether they have a degree, postgraduate, or PhD, or it's just like a person working in a florist, or they're working, somewhere in a shop. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you can just see there is just no light. There is nobody in here. Where are they? Where are they? And that's when we are not here, something else takes over, something else is here. So my helping spirits are always starting with extraction work and then soul retrieval work. That's kind of the basic. And some people who are just want to feel connected again, to feel good. Maybe they have a health issue, maybe they have an issue in their work, maybe they have bad luck, maybe whatever it happens. They just come from one or two sessions, or one session, and never see them again. And then maybe they phone me 3 years ago or 5 years afterwards, and they say, remember that session you did? That was great. Can I come again? Something happened. I lost somebody and this affected me again. So that's what I do. And some people are on a spiritual path. And when you are on a spirit journey, when you are really reclaiming yourself and you are trying to wake up from where you are right now, how your life is, you want to bring your life and yourself in alignment together with your soul's purpose. So that's when you need to do work over time. Or if there is an addiction, alcoholism, drug addictions are just so much here where I live. It's just like a really dark side to the city, as well as very, very beautiful and light and happy side too, and kindness, so much kindness here. But the heart is vulnerable. And I feel that sometimes we have been hurt so much, and that's maybe the difference between my work and the work, let's say, as more of a traditional side. In the traditional side, there is a support of a community. So we don't have that here. People have been alone for a long time, and they have not had the opportunity to have that honesty with maybe the people who have caused the problems in their family. So there haven't been that acknowledgement. While in the community will say, hey, come here. The matriarch or the patriarch will say, come here. You've been doing this, or you have to show up. Where are you lost like that? Why are you lost like that? And take responsibility for your children, for your loved ones, for being part of this community. And if you need support, we are offering you that support wholeheartedly. I experienced that in the 80s. My great aunt that you mentioned, she was illiterate. She lived in a world, in a what you could say, so low income, working class community. There was one car in the whole community. There was nobody else had a car, just one person, and he was giving lifts to everybody. And in that community, there was a huge amount of support. If you suffered, if you were ill, if you needed money, if you needed help, you needed to build a new house, they would all come and help and have a party with it as well, and some Greek dancing, food, and build a house with poor quality materials. It wasn't like, it was just yeah. But they're still standing, those houses. They're still standing after all these years. So they must have done a good job. But that was the support. And here in the West, there is so much alienation between the families, and there is not that community support. Everybody's told, well, you have to just do it for yourself, try and figure it out yourself. So what you need here is somebody who can really listen, and somebody who can listen with an open heart without judgment. And you need that kindness. You need that kindness, that really the person to be feeling held. I'm held, I'm safe. I'm safe because I have not felt safe in my life. Because there was nobody there for me, or the people who were there for me betrayed me, or whatever happened. So that is what I'm trying to do, and that's how I teach. Sometimes in the indigenous cultures, in my dad's cultures, it was just like, this is it. You go and do it. You have to do it right. Don't make mistakes. And it's a little bit. You have to really listen and take care. And in the beginning, my dad didn't want to do it, but he had no option because he was the firstborn male. So his mother said, get on with it, because there is nobody else. It's you who has to do it because you were born the firstborn male. So that's it. Well, here we have the option. We really have the option, and it's a calling, and we follow it. But at the same time, I feel that the people here, there is a vulnerability because there is not much support, and there is a lot of solo. So yeah, that's how I teach. So I take people through the course Shamanic teaches in the practitioner course. I teach all of them together, because I feel if you just do soul retrieval, which is a lot of people want to do soul retrieval, then if the person needs a depossession, or if they need an extraction, and you don't know how to do that, then what do? You need to have some skills and overall understanding of what is shamanic healing. So I teach the core work of power retrieval, soul retrieval, extraction, death and dying, depossession, work with nature as a teacher, medicine for the earth, all of that in the first part, the practitioner course. And then when people have that foundation, then I can go into the ancestral healing work, which is my tradition, which is the ancient Greek tradition, that where you work with difficult things like curses, that we had a lot, in Greece, we have a lot of that. And it was endemic there as well. So you have to do, really go deep and think, okay, how do I work with the dead ancestors? How I heal that side of the family? And that takes a foundation. You have to have a strong foundation. So in the advanced shamanic practitioner, that comes the Greek tradition. But I also have to say, I never thought I would teach anything from the Greek tradition, because everything in the indigenous way is very elaborate, much more complicated. A ceremony doesn't take an hour. It takes many hours preparation, 1 day preparation, and then doing the ceremony and then closing and everything. It takes a long time. So I never thought this would come, but the spirits of that tradition knocked on my door and they said that they don't want this to be lost, and the essence can be done as they were showing me. So taking the essence, they told me, take this essence, take this teaching. This is how you can do it in your community, in your work. So there are things that we cannot do. For example, we cannot have the same herbs that we have in Greece. We cannot do it the same way. We don't live in an agricultural society with animals and stuff. So, but it works. It really works.
I love your approach, Fotoula, of teaching the foundational material, how to work with helping spirits, for instance, first, and getting a grounding, and then accessing your culture. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about your book, your first book, The Golden Book of Wisdom, because this is a foundational piece, as I understand.
Yes, so this book, there is a metaphor in this book. It's quite a big book. It's like loads of pages and loads of chapters that came through. And every time I was thinking, oh, it's coming to an end. And I was asking the helping spirits, is it now finished? They said, oh no, you need to write about this as well. So it's quite a big book, but it follows the paradigm of the snake. And the snake is very important in my tradition. So the snake is the power of the earth. It also exists in the sky. So it's like underworld, middle world, upper world. This snake energy flows everywhere. And we're very respectful of the snakes. So we believe that the people who do the shamanic work can communicate directly with a snake. So we will say to the snake, if we see a snake, just like, okay, please go, do not stay here, we have a young child or whatever. And the snake would go, and we make an offering of milk to the snake. We believe is the spirit that looks after the land. And if we don't look after that snake, then we might cause harm to our connection with the land. So that means that we might be vulnerable to, robbers and all sorts of things, bad luck and everything. So the snake looks after us, we look after the snakes. But at the same time, we have cats everywhere. And these are semi-wild cats that you will find in Greece. And they love to be semi-wild as well. So they take care that we don't have too many snakes. But the snake, as a shamanic power animal, the first thing, or the first part of the book, is the shedding skin. And this is where we work to understand the process of our life and that foundation. So it talks about building our inner power, life force energy. It talks about the journey, the human journey through letting go and forgiveness and integrating the ego. It talks about what is the illness from a shamanic perspective, death, and power and soul loss at death, soul retrieval, all sorts of things. That is like the setting of the skin. So we set the skin and all the things we've gathered, and then we can fly, and then the snake becomes the flying serpent that goes up in the sky, and that is about journeying, accessing the other realities, and working shamanically with the earth and working shamanically yourself. You know, simple practices that are really accessible to people from a book, but because of course it's a book, but they are safe, tried and tested practices that people can follow. And then once you become the flying serpent, then you come back to the earth with a different perspective. So the snake returns to earth again, and this snake, when it comes back to earth, talks about is the Ouroboros. Ouroboros is a Greek word, Ouroboros, meaning the snake that bites its tail, and is the continuous circle of incarnation, reincarnation, and the journey of the soul. And then the last part of the book, finally, is building your power through the rituals, through the sun, the moon, the star portals that we have, building your power through the connection with the divine, which we call in my tradition the Holy Spirit. So you build that connection, that deep reverence for the divine and life and yourself. And then is what is that awakening that we talk about. So that's how the book finishes.
Let's talk a little bit more about helping spirits, and I thank you for that review of your volume. I'm sure that people would be so benefited through your courses, through your connection. And what about your own helping spirits? What do you rely on, and what speaks to you? Who speaks to you?
Who speaks to me? So, so my helping spirits, I have been very, very fortunate. I have to say that, and I have a lot of, just respect, love, appreciation, gratitude for my helping spirits. And I didn't always understand that. In the beginning, you take your helping spirits for granted. But my helping spirits have, even when I didn't know much, they were always there, and I had this sense of protection around me. And I thought everybody had that protection, that psychic protection around them. But over the years, I discovered, that was just my experience, and it's not the same for everybody. So we have to be discerning when we work with helping spirits. And my way is that I work with helping spirits that are transcended beings, and they don't have any, they offer their help unconditionally. They offer their help unconditionally from that divine love place. So there is that when I feel my helping spirits, that light and love and joy and I just sometimes ecstasy comes through. And that's what my clients feel. That's what people feel when they walk into the sacred space that I create before they arrive for the courses. They feel that peace because the helping spirits are holding that space, acceptance, no matter what you're doing, you're here for this purpose. We see you as a spirit and we honor you. And that's how the spirits see us and how I see the spirits. So they say to me, we work with you unconditionally for the highest good. That means that you work with us for the highest good as well, because like attracts like. And where people can go wrong, I feel, is sometimes thinking that the spirits will sort their life. They say to me, that's great, you're having all these helping spirits that you can say to them, you can ask them, who would be a good boyfriend or girlfriend for me, or what job should I go for, etc. And the helping spirits will say, don't expect us to sort out your life. That is your work. You have to live your life. But they are very beautiful beings, and they work unconditionally. So my advice to people is to not go for spirits who ask you to make vows, or to say to them that, I will only work with you if you do this, or if you don't do this and you decide tomorrow I'm going to give up shamanism because it's not good for me anymore, it's too much, I want to live another type of life, that these spirits won't hunt you down and keep you accountable, saying if you don't do that will cause harm, or etc. So because I've seen that, and mostly I've seen that in the indigenous ways, I have to say, it's not so much in the core shamanism. We work with transcended spirits anyway. I have made a commitment to work only with spirits of light, because that's what is in my soul. That's how I feel. I don't want to do any other type of work. And the other thing with the helping spirits is that I acknowledge everybody. So I work with certain beings who come through for certain types of work. And I have been working with them for many years as a teacher. The goddess Isis is my teacher. She has been there since I was a child through my love for ancient Egypt and what she showed me. But also there, I work with other grandmother type shamans, ancestral shamans, power animal who does the work for extraction, and other types of beings, the ancient gods who spoke to me again since I was a child. But I acknowledge everybody because I have received so many transmissions. I've received transmissions from about Goddess Kali, Mahakala from Bola, Lakshmi, Durga, Shiva. Everybody who I have connected with, when I open my sacred space, I acknowledge and say, I welcome you with their way, how you welcome. Maybe these beings, they have a particular mantra or a song. So it takes me about, 15, 20 minutes to open my sacred space, because I have to acknowledge and welcome everybody in their own way, how they would like to be welcomed. And then I start the work, and as I work, I feel the spirit who I work closely with, and there are a few of those, not so many as all that I acknowledge, who will come for a particular thing that they know this person needs this, and they have different degrees of power. So somebody who I need to take gently, this person, or they can't take a big force, all of a sudden, because then they will be too much. And I don't want to cause anybody any difficulty. Sometimes, things happen. You have a person who really has something deep that they need to release. And I will say to them, if that happens, just take time for yourself and just allow it. Do not panic, if you feel nauseous, if you have a feeling like that. This is shamanism is powerful. It's a powerful practice. And if that happens, it's okay. I will support you. I will support you during this time. We will take this out. We will make sure it leaves your system. But some spirits look and say, yes, that person has been doing a lot of work. I can come now and really be there and bring that power. Other people need something very gentle. So they know, the spirits know, I trust my spirits, my helping spirits so much. And that's what I learned, was to trust them and not to listen what I think should happen. Because there are so many stories that, all these years doing the work, my clients have been my biggest teachers, my students have been my biggest teachers. And there are so many stories that I thought, oh, that cannot be. And then when I share with my client, they say, oh, yes, I have done that.
Fotoula, you have such a compassionate way of approaching your client and student relationship. And I know there's also a suggestion or even a requirement that your clients or students be dedicated in some way, that they take this work seriously, and that, as you say, that the change is not just going to happen, that the client or student needs to participate in some meaningful way. Could you speak more about that?
Absolutely. I actually ask everybody who comes to me for a healing. I ask them to connect with themselves, and this is my way. And sometimes I give another way, but this is the first one, the basic one that I give to the first to almost any time. I say to the person, so before you go to sleep at night, um, a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, during a couple of weeks before we meet, I would like you to speak to your soul and say to your soul that you are now ready to change your life, that you wish to live a happy life, that you wish to be present in your life, and that you need your soul power to come back to you, and that you will really honor yourself, and that you wish to connect with your soul. So you do that, you go to sleep, and then during this time, you may have a significant dream. You may not have one, but sometimes I get the dream. But you may have a significant dream, and just bring that significant dream, not every dream you have, but the one that is significant. Or I say to people, before you come, I would like you to go and make a ritual in nature, build an earth altar with materials that you find there, maybe some little branches on the ground, maybe you find some stones who want to work with you and they say yes, and you build a little altar, and you find some leaves down there or a flower that you want to put there, and you want to say to Mother Earth, Mother Earth, I've been traveling for so long, and now I'm ready, and I wish to really connect with myself, and I wish to heal. And this is my intention for my life. And then just stay there and listen to the voice of the earth for a while, drum or rattle, or just sit in silence and see what comes. And, make a little offering as a thank you. Maybe have some seeds or some local produce, or put something from your hair, or, just your spittle down to the earth, the cells of your own body, offer it to the earth in gratitude. And so I ask people to do that, and the people who do that, really, there's an opening because they've done the work. And also what happens during this time, I have found this, if somebody who is listening to this podcast does this, is that sometimes you get the memories of why the soul left. And these memories may not be pleasant because the soul power has left for a good reason. It was like, this life is too hard, so I'm going to leave so you can walk life without carrying, the deep pain. And so these memories may be difficult, but do not go into the story. Do not try and analyze and saying, oh yes, this thing, it was so hard. Just know, that's this part of me. That was my sparkle. That was my light that left, and I welcome it back now. And I just say to it, welcome home, welcome home. Mm-hmm. And then once you say that, the story goes. It's no longer relevant. People don't need to go into the story. Just say, welcome home. Because this does happen, that when this work is true, is real, is not just a visualization. And we may have these memories that we have hidden far away, deep down. And if they come, we just say, welcome home, and move on. There's nothing more needed.
Fotoula, in addition to the individual work that you do, how do you perceive the wider impact of your work in the world? You're certainly a global citizen. You certainly travel and receive energies and teachings from many traditions. How do you feel that you giving back to individuals and the shamanic community makes a difference in the world?
I really don't know. I just do my work the best I can. I do my work. I think this is my job. Do the best I can, with the rituals that we do and all the work we do, the teachings, as you asked me about, to people to prepare for the healing, prepare my students as them, teach by example. I'm saying, I teach by example who I am, how I do the work, and try to influence them and saying, this is how we create a good space for our clients, for our rituals, and with integrity. Then we do a good job. Recently, what has happened is about giving back, about the earth, is that the spirits have given me this beautiful dance that we do, and it's a ritual. I called it the dance of the sacred spirits, and it's a dance where we are being possessed by our enlightened helping spirits. One of them becomes a dance partner, and they dance through our bodies. And the first part of the dance is like really dynamic, that our feet feel Mother Earth, and we bring that light, the spirit light, into Mother Earth. The second part of the dance, we still dance, but it becomes very much like an opening of the veils. And through the opening of the veils is like we're perceiving these energies that are coming to us, and we are almost like elevating our consciousness, so a healing takes place. And then at the end, what we are doing is we're helping all the earthbound spirits who are guided to that place to pass on. Because I feel one of the things that is causing a lot of troubles right now are these people or spirits, they're not all human, who have not been able to cross over. And where I live, there are so many suicides. And in shamanism in Greece, we say if a person has suicided, they call, they may, not everybody, of course, but if people have suicided in a very traumatic way, in a very difficult way, it wasn't a choice. It was a choice in some ways, but it was not. It was a desperate choice, we could say. There is a danger that they call others to it, and other people to become depressed and have illnesses, or call them into the death realm. So one of the things that we do is to help these spirits cross over, and I do that actually a lot. And some people who are my students are called to do that maybe twice a week, or maybe even once. Somebody is doing it once a day, because that's their calling. They say, I cannot say, I said, please put good boundaries, because these spirits will always come, saying there are always more of them. But her guides and her own soul said, this is what you can do. And of course, she knows how to do that. It's very safe. Yeah.
Fotoula, the other line of questioning that I'd like to pursue is about the evolution of your work. You've had so many chapters already, and teachers, and you've integrated and established your own way of sharing your medicine. How do you see it evolving now? How do you see the future? What are your visions or yearnings for the future?
There is a big dream, and my helping spirits have shown me this dream, and what I've seen is that there is a calling in so many people, but we're all doing our individual work, and we all feel that love for life and the shamanic ways, and to return back to earth and to a simpler life, and is coming from the ground up, is coming from us, from our, if you like, our root chakra, that desire to be close to the earth and life. And I feel that there is my dream, what the vision had been since 2012 and 2013 was that we create a beautiful community of shamanic practitioners and teachers where we all work and live in a harmonious way together, not from the ego and who is the best and who can do more, just to live in a harmonious way and start to really live authentically, whatever that means. And I feel that the earth really supports that. I feel the spirit of the earth really supports that. And I don't know if this is something that I will see in my lifetime or whatever. Sometimes you have these visions, as other indigenous shamans said, that we had these visions, but now we're so old and we're not going to live to see those visions. So what happens? Are these false visions? And the spirit says, no, you have built the foundation for something, but the cornerstone is not going to happen in your lifetime. You put the foundation stone, but not the cornerstone. So, but this is the vision I had of communities coming together locally. And I've done that in my local community since 2009. I've been holding ceremonies every Monday night. Of course, sometimes we have holidays, etc., but pretty much every Monday night, shamanic ceremonies for us to do really deep work. And the ceremonies I share at that time, I would say they are very much spirit guided, taking everything from the core shamanism, from the helping spirit, from my Greek tradition, say to them, what do you want us to do tonight? And they build the ceremony and we do it. And it's a place of learning because we do things that we haven't done before. And we just see how it works. But we're bringing such a good healing because it's the circle, coming back to that idea that the community can hold something and the transformation can take place. And even people who are doing this for the first time, they're coming to this circle and they are having a transformation experience. And then it's up to them. Do I want to go deeper? Or is this the healing that I needed for my body and my life? And that's it. But it's just an open space for healing. And I think that can be a way of life. So my dream is to have this shamanic community or spiritual community where we come from that heart space. And the only problem with that I've seen is that a lot of people start well, but then they become very ego driven, and then actually they lose the gift. I have seen that too, that people start so well, but then because of the ego, they attract to them spirits who work from the ego, and then these spirits can be harmful to their students and their clients. And then they start to take power from the students and clients instead of giving. So that is the intention, is to have people who really work from the heart, who really want to do this from a place of integrity. And I think that can happen.
I feel, Fotoula, that the heart that you show so easily, the integrity that flows through you, is inspiring. And simply to know that every Monday night you're hosting ceremony, that strengthens us in some way. So I believe you're well on your way to achieving your goal, at least inhabiting it in such a full way that it's bound to occur, both locally and globally. I so appreciate your membership in the Shamans Directory, your participation, your willingness to be a part of a global community and to share your medicine with a wider community. Before we need to leave this session together, is there anything else that you'd like our audience to know about you or to leave them with?
I would like to say a few things about the connection with Egypt, because my school is called the IC School of Holistic Health, And people say, why do you call it the Isis school? I would like you to call it the shamanic school or something like that. But I say, this is the name of my helping spirit who has been with me since I was a child. But it's so much more than that. I feel and I felt as a child that we have in Egypt and in the mystery tradition that went from Egypt to Greece as well, when Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, and before even, there was an amalgamation of the culture taking place. And in Greece, we have many, many temples of Isis. People don't know that, but we actually have in some of the most sacred spaces, ancient spaces in Greece, we have temples of Isis. And I would like to say that part of my work is about the soul evolution and the journey of the soul. So I feel there is, yes, traditional shamanism in my country, in Greece, has to do more with the healing of the body, the mind, of the land, getting rid of problems, the evil eye, all the curses and everything, bringing everything into balance, bringing ourselves into balance. But there is a bigger journey, which is the evolution of the soul. And that's what Egypt gave me. And my work with Egypt is a remembering. So when Isis came to me in 2006 and really shook me, it's just like physically, I was lying in my bed, and this column of light, I woke up and I felt, because I felt the bed shaking, physically shaking, and I saw this column of light coming into my body, and I had never had anything like that before or since, in that dramatic way, I should say. It was like a real awakening. And then she gave me all this information, all these rituals, all these ceremonies that I share in the other part of my work, which is the ancient Egyptian mysteries. And that is a huge foundation too, because that foundation starts to build our energy, our etheric body, and our connection to our infinite light. And for me, that is also the journey of awakening. And in ancient Egypt, they talked about the resurrection of the inert state from the death matter back into life. And they had rituals, very powerful rituals about that. And I had been very privileged to be able to do those rituals in the Great Pyramid. So I would like to say, if anybody is interested in that, my second book, Sacred Mysticism of Egypt, includes so much of that work and some of these rituals. Maybe some of these rituals are a bit advanced, but again, there are instructions there step by step. But it's really beautiful work, because I think we do need a foundation. We need a strong foundation, both in the energy, working with spirits, so we can really grow.
You have such a rich history, Fotoula, and such a rich interest in shamanism, not only and magic from your homeland, but from what draws you, and how you make your work accessible to people. I think that's very important. It seems like there are many ways that people can connect with you, and that's the whole purpose for this program, is to introduce members to one another so that we may get to know the broader shamanic community and dive in a little bit into personal callings like your own. And I thank you so much, Fotoula, for all your work, for your willingness to share your authenticity, from holding space in your tradition to really offering your power to others, and to show this power and presence within yourself. I'm so grateful for your membership. I'm so grateful for your participation and for your sharing today. Anything else?
I'm also very grateful and very honored because I know there are so many amazing people in the Shamans Directory, and I'm just so honored to be part of that community as well that you are building, and I love how you built it so authentically that you said, okay, people have to have experience and have to done a lot of work before they come. We just don't open the doors to anybody who can just pay the fee, or they're just saying, I just have, yeah, I'm a shaman because that's how I feel. It's like, no, no, no. We have very, very high and very beautiful standards. So this community can do the work. So I'm so grateful to be here. And I just wish everybody, whatever your path is, to follow the steps of your soul, because that takes so much courage. And it might sound that my path has been seamless and it had been one thing after another, and it has been, but it has also been a path of sacrifice. And I had to sacrifice a lot, had to overcome so much of my own shadow, of my own problems. Sometimes spirit was kind. After a while, spirit was not so kind and said, right, you have to do it that way, or this is the consequence. So it does take a lot of courage too. And for those of you who walk this path, it will give you so, so much. You will really transform, your life will transform because you will transform from within. So that is the gift. Follow the path of your soul. Before you were born and your soul said, at some point in your life, you will meet those teachings. Do not close that door and keep walking. That is my wish for myself and for everyone.
Thank you so much, Fotoula. And you can read more about Fotoula and learn more about her work through the Shamans Directory, through Fotoula's profile there. And you can learn about, as she says, many other members who were equally exciting and enthused about their own work. I love how you draw on your lineages, that you found a way to not only let them live within you, but to bring them forward. I think that's one of the primary core beliefs of Shamans Directory, is to truly honor the lineages that we represent. And you do that with such love and integrity, Fotoula.
Thank you very much, Wake. Thank you.
Until next time, we thank you. We thank you so much for watching. We look forward to joining you again around the fire. And we thank you so much for being a part of Shamans Directory, for being curious about members, for doing your own work in the world. Thank you.